This is Mission Control Houston. The Cargo Dragon is approaching the 220-meter mark away from the International Space Station. As it continues its on-target approach for a docking to the zenith port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. That is scheduled for about 6:16 a.m. Central Time, 7:16 a.m. Eastern Time. You can see the flashing strobe light on the forward portion of the Dragon cargo craft as it continues its approach to a point some 200 meters above the International Space Station. The crew has reported that it has a good visual sighting of Dragon, currently flying in an orbital sunset, about to move off the coast of China and move from northwest to southeast across the Pacific Ocean. This is Mission Control Houston. Again, a view over the northwest Pacific Ocean of the SpaceX Dragon cargo craft as it continues its approach to the International Space Station, about to reach what is called Waypoint 1, a position about 220 meters directly above the station, where it will initiate its final approach for an anticipated docking at about 6:16 a.m. Central Time, 7:16 a.m. Eastern Time, to the zenith or space-facing port of the station's Harmony module. While Dragon is in the home stretch of its two-day journey from its launch at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida on Thursday to a docking to the station this morning, Down at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson, Soyuz commander Oleg Novitsky of Roscosmos, and spaceflight participant Marina Vasilevskaya of Belarus are suited up in their Sokol launch and entry suits, strapped into their seats in the descent module of the Soyuz MS-25 spacecraft, ready for a second launch attempt today, just 2 hours and 4 minutes from now. The Soyuz 2.1A booster is fully fueled, ready for launch at 7:36 and 10 seconds a.m. Central Time, 8:36 and 10 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. The countdown, once again on Thursday for the initial launch attempt, was halted at the T-minus 20-second mark by the ground launch sequencer at Pad 6, Site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome, when a low voltage reading was detected in the electrical system of the booster's first stage. Batteries were changed out and retested on Friday, and everything is set to go to send Dyson, Novitsky, and Vasilevskaya on a 2-day journey, a 34-orbit journey, based on the orbital mechanics available today, and a docking to the International Space Station's Prishal module on Monday morning at 10:09 a.m. Central Time, 11:09 a.m. Eastern Time. We will begin our launch coverage from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, following the Dragon docking to the International Space Station.
You're actually connected to air quality monitor power supply 1003, which is connected to switch 3 on the PS120.
And Matt, that's a good readback on the power.
That air. No, I understand. I'm showing for procedure step 2, serial number 1015, connected to power supply 1002 for the procedure, not 1003.
And Matt, that's a firm. So we'll make sure we correct that.
Okay, well, so 1006, air quality monitor 1006 is running off of serial number 1002. So the power supplies are swapped. So just to say, I want that to be clear, air quality monitor 1006 is connected to 1002, and air quality monitor 1015 is connected to power supply 1003.
Okay, Matt, we copy all and appreciate that info, and we'll make sure our stuff is updated.
Copy. I mean, maybe I'm being way too detailed here. You tell me.
No, Matt, that's good. It helps us keep our products up to date. We appreciate the report.
Okay.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're about 35 minutes or so away from the expected docking of the SpaceX Cargo Dragon to the International Space Station. The expected docking time, approximately 6:16 a.m. Central Time, 7:16 a.m. Eastern Time. SpaceX and its Dragon craft, with all of the Dragon systems being monitored by SpaceX flight controllers in Hawthorne, California, and the team here in Mission Control at the International Space Station Flight Control Room, also monitoring Dragon's approach and space station systems and the level of station readiness to accept the Dragon for its docking to the zenith or space-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station just about 35 minutes from now. We're about 21 minutes away from the point at which Dragon will be directly above the station at a distance of some 220 meters. That's called Waypoint 1. A brief opportunity for the alignment of Dragon to the Harmony module to be assessed by the SpaceX team in Hawthorne before the command is given to begin final approach to Waypoint 2 and a distance of just 20 meters away from the station, and then the final go for docking, which means contact and capture, initiating the hooks, the 12 hooks that will permanently latch Dragon to the station's Harmony module for the next 5 weeks of its cargo delivery and scientific experiment delivery activity. Dragon and the station are flying from northwest to southeast across the Pacific Ocean at an altitude of about 260 statute miles. We're 1 hour 53 minutes away from the launch of the Soyuz MS-25 spacecraft with NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson, Roscosmos Soyuz commander Oleg Novitsky, and Marina Vasilevskaya, the spaceflight participant from Belarus. They are aboard their Soyuz spacecraft at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The vehicle is fully fueled. The countdown is proceeding without a hitch toward an expected liftoff time of 7:36 and 10 seconds a.m. Central Time, 8:36 and 10 seconds a.m. Eastern Time, sending Dyson, Novitsky, and Vasilevskaya on a 34-orbit, 2-day journey to the International Space Station for a docking to the Prishal module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station, docking on Monday, scheduled at 10:09 a.m. Central Time, 11:09 a.m. Eastern Time. When we are complete with our Dragon docking coverage this morning, we'll take a quick pause and then resume our Soyuz launch coverage on this doubleheader day at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on NASA television. A view over the Pacific Ocean of the Dragon cargo craft and its flashing lights visible to the Expedition 70 crew on board the International Space Station. We're about 16 minutes or so away from the Dragon arrival at what is called Waypoint 1. That's a gate post basically 220 meters directly above the International Space Station. All of the rendezvous burns have been executed without incident. Everything in excellent shape on the Dragon as it closes in for contact and capture to the Harmony module's zenith docking port. This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just joining us, you're looking at a view in darkness of the flashing lights on the SpaceX Dragon cargo ship launched from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station 2 days ago. Now in the final stages of its approach for a docking to the International Space Station at about 6:16 a.m. Central Time, 7:16 a.m. Eastern Time, to deliver some 3 tons of supplies and science experiments to the Expedition 70 and soon Expedition 71 crews. We are just a couple of minutes away from Dragon's arrival at what is called Waypoint 1. That is a milestone of about 220 meters in distance above the International Space Station along what is called the R-bar, the radial vector, an imaginary line drawn between the station and the center of the Earth. We're about 26 minutes away from expected docking. Once the docking occurs, a series of hooks, 12 in all, will close in gangs of 6 each. That will form a hard mate between Dragon and the station's Harmony module, setting the stage for leak checks at the docking interface that will be conducted by the station crew members prior to the opening of the hatch between the station and Dragon, and then the Dragon hatch itself later this morning, allowing the crew members to begin unloading the most time-critical cargo and the science equipment that will be set up for about 5 weeks of science data gathering. Meanwhile, down at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, countdown clocks also ticking toward the launch of the Soyuz MS-25 spacecraft 1 hour, 45 minutes from now. That will send NASA's Tracy Dyson Roscosmos Soyuz commander Oleg Novitsky and Belarus spaceflight participant Marina Vasilevskaya into the beginning of a 2-day journey to reach the International Space Station and a docking to the station's Prishal module on Monday morning. The second launch attempt that's coming up follows a last-second scrub of Thursday's initial launch attempt due to the detection of a low voltage reading in the electrical system of the Soyuz 2.1A booster's electrical system. Batteries in that system were changed out on Friday and retested, and everything is set to go with the vehicle now fully fueled and the crew strapped into their seats in the descent module, the center section of the 3-section Soyuz vehicle. We'll transition out of Dragon docking coverage into Soyuz launch coverage at 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time.
Station Houston on space to ground 2. Houston is go for Dragon to approach to waypoint 2.
Station copies, go.
You heard the voice of spacecraft communicator David Brenna here in Mission Control in Houston, and the acknowledgement by NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara aboard the International Space Station that Dragon has been given the go from the mission director at Hawthorne, California for SpaceX, and concurred by Flight Director Ronak Dave here in Mission Control to enable Dragon to approach inside the keep-out sphere to a distance of about 20 meters away from the International Space Station. That should be occurring a short time from now. This is Mission Control Houston. The SpaceX Dragon cargo craft now less than 300 meters away from the International Space Station, having given a go for approach to what is called Waypoint 2. That's a intermediary stoppage point, putting the brakes on basically for a final evaluation of its systems at a distance of about 20 meters or so away from the station before the go is given for final approach for contact and capture. We are about to enter into an orbital sunrise for Dragon and the International Space Station over the South Pacific as the two craft will make their way from northwest to southeast, crossing the southern coast of Chile.
EHS, air quality monitor in 6.5 of the user account.
With you on 2, Matt, we copy.
For situational awareness, the expected docking time for Dragon to the Harmony module's Zenith or space-facing docking port will come about 1 hour and 20 minutes before the scheduled launch of Soyuz MS-25 from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, as a flurry of activity is unfolding here in Mission Control in Houston, the SpaceX Control Center in Hawthorne, California, the Russian Mission Control Center on the outskirts of Moscow, and the focus of attention after Dragon this morning at the launch pad with Launch Pad 6, Site 31 of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. And as we move into an orbital sunrise, a better view now of the strobe lights on the forward portion of the Dragon cargo craft, slowly but surely making its way toward the beginning of its terminal phase of its rendezvous. Everything, all of the burns from the Draco thrusters have been automated and have been executed in excellent fashion. You can see just off to the side of Dragon, that's the open nose cap that was commanded open some 13 minutes after Dragon's launch atop its Falcon 9 rocket from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station on Thursday. The opening of the nose cap exposing the docking mechanism on the forward port of Dragon, as you can see, is closing in on the space station. This view now of the same perspective that Laurel O'Hara and Mike Barrett are seeing on their monitors inside the cupola as they monitor the approach of Dragon in the final moments before docking, which is scheduled some 15 minutes from now. We expect to reach waypoint 1. That's the point of a distance of about 220 meters between Dragon and the station, directly above the station. That's coming up about 10 seconds from now. And Dragon now is passing waypoint 1 into the keep out sphere. Again, there are two imaginary boundaries, if you will. One is the approach ellipsoid. That's a oval-shaped area around the International Space Station. The second, a circular area called the keep-out sphere, essentially the point of the terminal phase of the rendezvous that brings Dragon towards its destination today, the zenith or space-facing port of the Harmony module. And there you see the pre-programmed thruster firings on Dragon as it precisely aligns itself with the Harmony docking port. The Crew 8 Dragon that brought Matt Dominic, Mike Barrett, Jeanette Epps, and Alexander Grabenkin to the station earlier this month is docked to the forward docking port of Harmony. Once the SpaceX Cargo Dragon craft departs the Zenith port to which it's arriving this morning, once it departs that Zenith port about 5 weeks from now, Crew 8 will climb into its Dragon vehicle and do a relocation, undocking from the forward port of Harmony, redocking to this same Zenith port that the Cargo Dragon is going to this morning. That opens up the forward port of Harmony for the arrival in early May of the Boeing Starliner crew commercial craft that will bring on the crew flight test or CFT mission astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams on the first crewed test flight of the new Boeing Starliner vehicle. As we continue to watch Dragon approaching the International Space Station, thruster firings again automatically programmed. As Dragon fine-tunes its path to the station, we're continuing to receive updates from the launch pad at Baikonur. The three Soyuz MS-25 crew members, Tracy Dyson, Oleg Novitsky, and Marina Vasilevskaya, are conducting leak checks on their Sokol launch and entry suits inside the descent module. The Soyuz 2.1A booster fully fueled, ready for launch 1.5 hours from now.
And back with you on 2 Laurel. At waypoint 2, Dragon will briefly pause to align for docking, then automatically resume approach.
Copy, brief pause at waypoint 2.
Laurel O'Hara acknowledging the call from spacecraft communicator David Brenna here in Mission Control. As is planned, the Dragon cargo ship will put the brakes on for just a brief period of station keeping at what is called waypoint 2, a distance of just 20 meters from the docking port on the space-facing side of Harmony. Once those diagnostics are complete, then the go will be given for final approach and docking.
Station Houston on 2 for Matt.
Here in Mission Control, Flight Director Ronak Dave will be polling his team of flight controllers to get a go for approach to waypoint 2. A good view of Dragon, its nose cap open, on automated approach for a docking that is scheduled at about 6:16 a.m. Central Time, 7:16 a.m. Eastern Time, some 9 minutes from now. Flight controllers at Hawthorne, California for SpaceX report the Dragon's systems are now configured for docking. Dragon now on final approach, crossing the 100-meter mark. All of Dragon's systems in excellent shape. A final poll being taken here in Mission Control for a go for docking. All the flight control positions here in Mission Control have pulled go for docking. Dragon now 80 meters away. Once again, the view you're seeing is the same view that Mike Barrett and Laurel O'Hara are privy to in the cupola as they monitor Dragon's final approach for contact and capture that is scheduled about 8 minutes from now, about 5 minutes actually from now. Dragon and the International Space Station now flying some 262 statute miles over the South Atlantic, about to begin a southwest to northeasterly swing that will carry it across the west coast of Africa a short time from now. Now approaching 50 meters. We're in a momentary handover between satellites on the tracking and data relay satellite system. We'll get back the video signal here shortly.
Houston Station on 2 for AirPop.
With you on 2, go ahead.
We're seeing on our pop on SSC 16 that we're getting ranges from node 2 forward DP to visiting vehicle DP. The corridor is showing good though.
Laurel, we copy. We're going to have Pluto fix it from here.
Thanks.
Dragon now 30 meters away. Dragon now approaching the final gate called Waypoint 2. Right before docking, you'll hear a call, the CHOP call. That's the acronym for Crew Hands-Off Point, where the crew no longer will have the capability to issue an abort command in the unlikely event a last-second technical issue would crop up.
And Station Houston on 2 for Laurel. We think it'll be faster if you do it yourself, and you can do that by pressing Control F8. You'll have to keep cycling through it until you get what you want.
We are all
Station Houston on Space Ground 2. Dragon is on final approach and is go for docking. Monitor percepts 5 and 6 and 1.102. Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
copy go for docking. We're in step 5. We see range at 17 meters, attitude as expected.
We copy. Good words.
Laurel O'Hara acknowledging a distance of about 17 meters separating Dragon from station. We're about 3 minutes away from contact and capture. You're looking right down the barrel of the zenith or space-facing docking port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station, where the Dragon cargo ship will spend the next 5 weeks. "11 meters away. Dragon very stable, nominal rates reported. Moving inside the 10-meter mark. "7 meters now separating Dragon and the space station. Crew is standing by. "5 meters now. Good orientation by Dragon, very stable. "2 meters away, standing by for contact and capture. Crew is now hands off, no abort commands capable anymore. And we have contact and capture, soft capture complete at
Station
6:19 a.m. Central Time, 7:19 a.m. Eastern Time, as Dragon and the space station flew 262 miles over the South Atlantic just west of Africa. Once again, now we're waiting for relative motion between the two vehicles to dampen out before the initiation of the 12 hooks on Dragon that will form a hard mate between itself and the International Space Station. The docking ring retraction is now in progress. That basically pulls the two vehicles tightly together. Once again, docking occurring at 6:19 a.m. Central Time, 7:19 a.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station and the SpaceX Dragon cargo craft flew over the South Atlantic just west of Africa. The Dragon cargo craft completing a textbook two-day journey following its launch on Thursday afternoon from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Two Dragons now at the station. This cargo Dragon at the zenith or space-facing port. The Crew 8 Dragon that brought Matt Dominic, Mike Barrett, Jeanette Epps, and Alexander Grabenkin to the station earlier this month at the forward port of Harmony. We are standing by for the initiation of the hooks on Dragon to begin to close. Two gangs of 6 hooks apiece that will form a hard mate between Dragon and the station. Then an umbilical is extended that provides power between the station and Dragon, so Dragon can draw station power for the duration of its 5-week stay on board. We now have a good alignment between Dragon and the international docking adapter to which Dragon linked up to just a couple of minutes ago. And while we're standing by for the initiation of the hooks to close, just a note, at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, we're 1 hour, 12 minutes away from the launch of Soyuz MS-25. The crew is on board. The vehicle is fully fueled, ready for launch at 7:36 a.m. Central Time, 8:36 a.m. Eastern Time. Launch coverage will begin at the top of the hour on NASA Television and NASA Plus at 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern.
Station Houston, MCS configured, proceeding with hook driving.
Station copies.
And that call from spacecraft communicator David Brenna here in Mission Control to Laurel O'Hara indicates that we should be seeing the initiation of the hooks driving on Dragon to form a hard mate between itself and the ISS a short time from now. The first set of hooks now driving. This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, we're waiting for the completion of the driving of the hooks to form a hard mate between the newly arrived Dragon cargo craft, which linked up to the International Space Station's Harmony module, the Zenith or space-facing port, about 10 minutes ago at 6:19 a.m. Central Time, 7:19 a.m. Eastern Time. And we're now hearing that the second set of hooks are now driving and engaging.
Station Houston on space to ground 2, hard capture complete.
And we have a hard mate.
Mission copies, hard capture complete. Congratulations to NASA and SpaceX. It was a beautiful approach and docking from up here. We're looking forward to getting it to Dragon and getting going on all the research on board. And also finding all the goodies too.
Hey, thanks so much for the words, Laura. We really appreciate it.
This is Mission Control Houston. You heard the confirmation of hooks closed, forming a hard mate between Dragon and the Harmony module's Zenith International Docking Adapter. So the cargo vehicle carrying 3 tons of supplies and science equipment to the station, now firmly in place. An umbilical is being attached between Dragon and the station so Dragon can receive station power. Meanwhile, at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, you're looking live at the Soyuz MS-25 on the launch pad. It's pad 6, site 31 at the Central Asian Spaceport. As the countdown has passed the T-minus 1 hour 5 minute mark, on board the descent module encapsulated in the upper stage of the Soyuz booster are NASA's Tracy Dyson, Roscosmos Soyuz commander Oleg Novitsky, and Belarus spaceflight participant Marina Vasilevskaya. They are ready to launch at 7:36 a.m. Central Time, 8:36 a.m. Eastern Time, on a 2-day journey to reach the International Space Station. Our coverage will begin at the top of the hour at 7 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. This is Mission Control Houston. Docking now confirmed and complete with the extension and attachment of the umbilical between the station and the Dragon cargo craft that linked up to the Harmony module at 6:19 a.m. Central Time, 7:19 a.m. Eastern Time. It was a perfect 2-day journey from its launch at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station on Thursday to its arrival on the station today for a 5-week delivery mission. So with that, we'll wrap up our coverage temporarily here from Mission Control. We'll be back on the air in just 27 minutes at the top of the hour with our Soyuz launch coverage, sending another crew to the International Space Station. In the meantime, this is Mission Control Houston.